Hello, Robert. How are you doing?
Good.
So you are the original Freddy Krueger. What did you do to prepare for that role?
Well, you know, I talk about this in my book a bit, but enduring the makeup tests, the original makeup tests, was helpful to me because I was so long in front of the mirror. I learned how to move the makeup and make it look real and make it twitch or whatever I had to do. And then sitting next to these beautiful young actors that I worked with, Johnny Depp and Heather Langenkamp, I used my own doubts about doing a horror movie and my own the fact that I was older than they were and wondering if I'd made the right decision in my career at that time, because I was a pretty well-established character actor in movies doing this little horror film. And so I used my sort of envy of their youth and their beauty, and I realized I could kind of flip that and use that as a kind of motivation for Freddy, you know.
Are you a fan of horror films?
You know, I was, and it took me, you know, it wasn't really cool to be a fan of horror movies when I was a young actor starting out. And it took me a while. Wes Craven helped me kind of respect the genre again. But when I was a little boy, yeah, I can remember, you know, sneaking off to the matinees and seeing some pretty hardcore stuff when I was a kid. You know, all the young guys, we'd put our allowance together and talk somebody's mom into dropping us off at the Saturday matinee and sit in the dark and get the bejesus scared out of us with some little Hammer film or something.
So what do you think about the new remake that's coming out?
Well, I'm curious, like I think everybody else is. You know, I'm a big fan of actors, and there's some really interesting actors in this project. Clancy Brown, Connie Britton, Jackie Earle Haley, who's playing Freddy, the young actor who starred in Sarah Connor Chronicles. I think he's playing the Johnny Depp role. So there's some really interesting talent aboard, and I'm curious.
Tell me about your web series.
Well, Fear Clinic is essentially a kind of unlicensed hospital that is sort of the last chance for people who are suffering from a phobia to get rid of their phobia with a controversial new technique. And of course, I'm this sort of mad doctor who has thought of this new technique to sort of confront people with their paranoias and their phobias. And I put them in a kind of a chamber, kind of like an isolation chamber, like a samadhi tank, and they confront whatever their fear is, claustrophobia or fear of insects or whatever their particular hang-up is. They kind of push through to the other side, and then they're cured. What happens is, though, we discover that in the chamber there's a residue of these phobias residing there, and that sort of manifests itself as an evil entity, and that's sort of the direction we're going with the show.
What, are you at all any bit like your character that you play?
Oh no, I'm like, you know, when I finally got done with all of my horror movies in makeup, Freddy and Phantom of the Opera and some of my Stephen King movies, I had aged. You know, I was not this young kid that went into the makeup at Freddy in my early 30s. I was in my late 40s. Early 50s by the time I took the makeup off, and I looked different. You know, I had gray in my hair, I grew the beard that you see now, and so I began to play, you know, scientists and professors and
What do you do to prepare for a role?
Well, you know, with parts that are involving science and medicine, you know, first thing you have to do is wrap your mouth around the dialogue, because you're talking in scientific jargon. You know, it's like guest starring on ER. You know, you sort of have to master that. That's the first trick, and then you want to kind of know what it all means, so you research whatever you're talking about, so that when you're talking it or you're thinking about it in your mind's eye, you know what particular phobia, in my case, in Fear Clinic, or if I'm playing another kind of doctor or professor, whatever my subject matter is, you want to at least be familiar with it, so that when you're talking about it, you can see it in your mind's eye.
Thank you so much for talking to us.
Okay, thank you.